Joining us once again, a friend of the show, proud Canadian, a former men's national team player, and also a guy that played with the Kansas City Wizards. My friend, your friend out there in Canada, Alex Bunbury. Alex, welcome again.
Anthony, how you doing, my man?
Very good, my friend. How are you and the family doing?
Everyone's doing superb. Thank you.
Outstanding. Alex, let's get right to it. You're the first guy that it hit me right in the head when I wanted to talk about this topic to call you and get you on. It's a new Canadian league. It's been the buzz the last couple of weeks here in Canada, possibly kicking off in 2018. I had the president, Victor Montagliani of the CSA, on before Christmas, and he confirmed that there is things that are taking place. They're in the preliminary stages of putting it all together. I think this is important for many, many reasons. And some of the reasons that I believe it's important is that jobs for our Canadian players, our Canadian general managers, trainers, office staff, on and on. I think it's key. I'd love to hear from you why you believe also it's key for our country to have success.
Well, Anthony, you've been around for a long time in the game and in the sport, I should say, and I think you know this, and I would want to believe that the majority of your fans and football supporters or soccer supporters out there in Canada and throughout the world know the importance of having a domestic league in your own country. And I think that some people tend to forget, and you nailed it on the head, what it does for local communities as well, and how it enhances the lifestyle of these communities, and it provides jobs for local talent. Not only players, but as you named, staff members, positions that are vital. And I think that this, if what I'm hearing, and as so far I'm hearing some good things, and it seems to be real, this is fantastic for Canada, fantastic for local communities, and fantastic for the fans of the game.
You know, Alex, God bless our brothers to the south. You reside there. I love our American brothers. I love them dearly. But I'm really, quite frankly, dearly sick and tired of Americans coming up here taking jobs from Canadians. I'm tired of it. I mean, look, we're not the little brothers here that can be slapped around continuously when it comes to coaching jobs, GM jobs, office jobs, trainers, on and on. There wasn't a time not too long ago that we used to take care of business with the US of A until they poured in a ton of money with that World Cup in 1994, and then things took off, and they've done things fantastic. But we can do things just as good as them if we're given the opportunity, Alex.
Right, you better believe it. Hey, I learned how to play the game where? Montreal, Canada. I was taught to play this game that I love, this sport that I love, in Canada. We have qualified people. We have quality people. And if we get corporate Canada behind a league like this, I'm 100% sure that the Canadians are just as capable as the Americans when it comes to handling this kind of an entity, this kind of a sporting event, this kind of a mega kind of situation that I believe the entire country needs, the country that loves football. People in Canada love football, and I use the word football because that's the global name, and I'll say soccer, but they love it. We have a lot of ethnic groups in Canada, so you're absolutely right. I'm with you on this. I really believe that, yes, I do live here in the U.S. I love it here. My family grew up here, and my kids, I should say, grew up here, but man, Canada has everything that America has, with the exception of population and maybe the exception of the monies coming in from corporate Canada as it's coming in here in the U.S. So if we get that, if we get the business world behind, or the business community behind soccer locally, I think Canada will be just as fine in creating jobs for Canadians. And you're right, we need to do that, and it's very important.
Alex, when I was involved with the North York Rockets, and I worked 2.5 years there, and then also did a little bit of time with the old Toronto Blizzard, it was a league that was proudly Canadian. It supplied 3/4 of its players with Canadians, and if my memory serves me right, only 3 imports were allowed to come and play on each squad. And that's why I believe back then we were so close to getting to the World Cup was the reason why that league was formed, to give us an opportunity to develop our players like a Dominic Mobilio, God rest his soul, Paul James, Lyndon Hooper, Paul Pescasolido. I could go on from here to the end of this country to tell you about the players that were developed there. How important is it for young Canadian boys to look up and dream and say, hey, I can actually play for the Hamilton Steelers or the Montreal Supra one day and put that jersey on and be showcased and possibly be sold to a European club?
Well, I'm a testament to that, I believe, and you named some of those players that are also testament to that. It's so vital to have that hope. Hope is so powerful, Anthony. And when you give young people hope and you give them the opportunity to better themselves, there's nothing more powerful than that. So a league of this magnitude provides that for these young boys. And I'm hoping and praying that we have the same kind of attitude for the girls as well, because we have a lot of young girls that love the sports as well. And I commend all of the stakeholders that have put their heads together and decided that to make this big jump, because it's so needed. And I can't stress anymore how important it is that we have the local businesses supporting this initiative and making sure that they're there, because they will benefit from it. This sport is going up and up and up. The ceiling is so high for soccer in North America still, and I employ my Canadian businessmen to look into this, and I'm sure they are, and do all they can to enhance the game in Canada and give those young Canadian boys and, God's willing, young Canadian girls the opportunity to play the sport that they love and make a living out of it. It's as simple as that. They have to be able to make a living out of it.
You know, Alex, people have said to me when I said that I was going to speak about this tonight with you, Anthony, why will it succeed this time if it didn't when you were involved back then? And my simple answer to them was simply this. Back then, God bless the owners like Tony Fontana with North York Rockets, Karsten von Verzeby with Toronto Blizzard, Mario Di Bartolomeo of Hamilton Steelers. They cared about the game. They cared about it so much that they wanted to win, and they didn't think of it and look at it properly as a business. They put their heart and their money out there to try and win a championship for that city. But the business structure, the model wasn't the right model. This is why I believe today it will succeed with the proper owners, the proper marketing, the proper backing, on and on. You agree, Alex?
Oh, yeah. You have to have the infrastructure, and it has to be structured. It has to be put in a way that from the grassroots up, you have the backing, you have a business structure that supports the idea that this thing is not going to be making tons of money the first 2, 3, 4 years, but there's enough resources in the league to get it going over a period of 5, 6, 7 years. So those investors who are coming in, I'm hoping that that's how they're looking at it. And I would think that that's the way they're looking at it. And I'm so grateful that you mentioned the names of those former owners, because you and I know this. These guys went into their pockets and they dug in, not because they just loved the game. They had a passion for the game. So if we have a combination of ownership that are passionate about the game and as well very business savvy, I think the league is going to do very well in hiring the right people that are responsible, that are articulate, that knows the game on and off the field. I think sky's the limit, my man. Sky's the limit.
You know, Alex, I believe this time around is an important time around for Canada, that this new league succeeds, because if not, I don't think we'll ever see another league rise up again. This is an important time for Canada, an important time for the Canadian soccer fan to get out there and support whichever cities are awarded a franchise. And I also believe, Alex, I'd like your thoughts on this. I don't think this would have come to fruition if Don Garber, if MLS would have started respecting and treating the Canadian player with the same respect as the American player. With all due respect, you know, again, MLS is an American league, and that's fine, because look, they're 3/4 of the stakeholders in there, and they created this league going back because of the '94 World Cup. And I have no issue with that. It's their league, first and foremost. No problems with that. But let's not forget, they've taken some big money from 3 Canadian cities. And those 3 Canadian cities right now in attendance are taking care of business big time over clubs like Columbus, San Jose. I mean, Chivas filtered away, but the 3 Canadian teams are getting stronger and stronger, Alex.
Yeah, I think that you're hitting on something that, could be controversial, but it really isn't. It's just common sense in many ways. You have the Canadian teams, and yet still the rules are skewed against the Canadian players. It doesn't make any sense. And one would hope and pray that I know that Mr. Garman, these are very intelligent men that are running the MLS, and very comparable men. And I know some of these folks, and I know that their hearts and soul are into what they believe is right. But you hit it on the head. We have to have a mechanism that provides a better situation for Canadian players. And this is why I think we have to think of this league as being the home for Canadian players. And we have Canadian investors investing into Canadian players and Canadian leagues and Canadian communities. I really believe that it will flourish. I really believe that this is the time. I think that timing is everything, as you stated, and now is the time. And I'm just excited for what I'm hearing, and God's willing, it will all pan out, and this league will take off and be a home for so many talented young players that we have in Canada.
Alex, not just players, I want to expand, but coaches and office staff. Let's start with coaches. Biello, head coach of Montreal, I'm happy for that. He's a Canadian. The only other Canadian I can think of off the top of my head that's on an MLS bench as an assistant is Mark Watson, I believe, with Orlando City. After that, I can't think of anyone else. And I mean, that's what bothers me, is that here you got all sorts of Americans coming up here to the 3 Canadian franchises. I got to be honest, a lot less in Montreal and Vancouver, a lot more in Toronto. But
yes.
Where do we see Canadian talented coaches going down to the US of A MLS clubs getting jobs? I'm thinking of many guys that are here in Canadian youth clubs that have developed players. Why aren't they getting a sniff? Or, York University head coach Carmen Asako, who's won national title after national title. Why isn't an MLS club knocking on his door? I mean, yeah. I could go on and on, Alex. It's just infuriating because Americans keep coming up here, taking jobs away from Canadians, but we can't get a sniff down south.
Well, hence the importance of having this league. Now, when you have the league, you have to make sure that you're taking care of your homegrown talent first and foremost. Here's a great opportunity for that to take place. So we have to be vigilant in making sure that the priorities are in place. When we talked earlier about structure, that's part of the structure. Not only from a business perspective in terms of resources and things of that nature. I think if we're going to develop a style of play in Canada, we also have to have the influence of coaches and managers who are Canadian, because they understand the culture and they understand the structure of how things are done in Canada. Now, is it out of this world to bring in foreign coaches? No. Or American coaches? No. Of course not. But the priority, I personally believe, should be Canadian flavor. Let's have that kind of style going on. If we have a league here, those coaches that are doing the business locally across the nation should be first and foremost getting those jobs. I firmly believe that, and I cannot see anyone thinking that is not the way to go. I would really like to see anyone thinking of that in a way that is a negative. So I think you're absolutely right. I think that we have to produce high-level Canadian coaches and managers, and this will be the place to do it.
Alex, just before we close out this page and before we let you go, I want to get a little word on the Minnesota MLS situation as well. I want to close it out on this page. Here in the U.S., down in the U.S. of A, where you're at, I've traveled quite a bit with my 2 boys in many youth tournaments, and I've traveled to watch pro games on and on. The patriotism, the unity, the bond that the U.S. citizen has when it comes to supporting their country, the U.S. of A., is unbelievable. And I think this is still a major issue here up in Canada. God bless this country of ours, Canada. I love it. I will die for it. But here, if Italy, Portugal, England, Germany, Jamaica play Canada, you know, you wore the red jersey. You'll see half and half, if not three-quarters of the other nation in the stands. I think this needs to change. I think we need to be all unified, all on the same page for this league to kick off. We need to support it. And I believe everyone has to put their differences aside, or I don't want to hear any more after that about us not having our own league and developing players, because then it's done for me.
Well, Anthony, I think ego, we have to put our ego aside. And I think a lot of folks, sometimes they're set in their ways. And when you're set in your ways, you become narrow-minded. You have to have an open mind. And I think the Canadian soccer scene, in many ways, people are more into their own little community thing rather than seeing the big picture. And everyone has to understand that once you have a good structure and we're all in it together, everyone benefits from it. And most importantly, the local communities and the kids in those communities. And we have to look for that. It's not about the adults, it's about the kids. And when you have a professional league as well, it's about the community. And once you start doing things in the community, that's the one thing I loved about when I played for the Hamilton Steelers. We were heavily involved in the community. Mr. DiBartolomeo and staff made sure of that. And to this day, the Hamilton Steelers resonate in that community. And so I think that once we have that kind of format set in place, people will start to come and support the game. And then our national team now becomes something of not just a prelude to the league, but it becomes a fabric of the league as well. And I think that that's the way, the route to take, and hopefully wiser people than myself are on that wave level, and we can obtain something that is sustainable and something that will flourish and grow and make Canada a shining light in football or soccer throughout the world.
You said it absolutely bang on. I couldn't agree with you more. Alex, before we let you go, talk a little bit about Minnesota United. The buzz is still in the air there in St. Paul. I'm sure people are getting excited. I'm sure that they're watching this season with close interest to see which players might be available when it comes to their turn. Tell us, give us a little bit of an update. What's going on? We hear a little bit of a controversy with the name Minnesota United. Give us a little bit of an update.
Well, I think what's going on is that obviously the entire state is very excited to have an MLS franchise. And I think Dr. McGuire is doing his part to make sure that they do the right things in getting the team, the name, and all of these things in place so that the majority of the fans here are going to be supportive. One thing I've learned over the years, Anthony, is that you're not going to please everyone. No matter what you do, there's always 10 or 15% of people that are in a negative mindset or oppose what you're doing. So what you have to do is try to do your very best, and I think Dr. McGuire is trying to do his very best to make sure that he puts everything together. I met the man maybe 3 weeks ago and spoke to him briefly. He's a down-to-earth, very simple man, and you would never think this is a man that is worth billions of dollars once you meet him. He's very, very down-to-earth, and he wants Minnesota to succeed. So I believe that he's going to put together a team that's going to do the right things, get the naming right, and I'm just really looking forward to the future and what it's going to bring for this city and this state.
As we close it out, you do a lot of great work there in the state of Minnesota. You do a lot of great work with the youth there. You want to make sure they're always kept on the straight, away from the streets, a place to play, some shoes, some shorts, a T-shirt. You always do it from your heart, and you always give so much. Give us an update in the wonderful things you are doing with so many people there.
Well, we're keep going. We're doing all the things that you mentioned. My objective is always to have a diverse kind of setting where we're looking at the disadvantaged. Those are the young men and young women that I believe we have to look out for, and we continue along those paths. We've reached out now to the country of my birth, Guyana, So we're on the verge of doing a lot of work with Guyana now. So there's a whole lot of things that are going on, and I'm grateful for and humbled, and with humility, I go out every day trying to make life a little bit easier for those folks that are disadvantaged, and help their kids, and work and use the beautiful game as a vehicle to getting them on the straight and narrow.
You're a blessed father of four. If someone can help, is there a website, Alex, that can they donate? Can they give some clothing? How can they help out?
Well, they can go to our website. It's absa.org. It's Alex Bunbury Sports and Academic Academy.org. You go on that website, you're going to see all the things that we're engaged in, not only locally here in the state of Minnesota, but globally as well. We're trying to do the same thing in some parts of Guyana. So anyone who's interested in doing and helping us out, get on our website and take a look at what we're doing, and I think you'll be very encouraged and pleased to see we have a lot of good people working on behalf of disadvantaged kids, and it's an awesome site, and it's an awesome thing for these folks that come out every day working with me to get it right for these kids.
Well, you're an awesome guy. You're a special guy here in Canada. You're a special guy to me. God bless you. Continued success, my friend, and we'll get you back on as the summer progresses here, and we'll talk a little bit more where we're at with this new Canadian League. Alex, thank you so much once again. God bless, and enjoy the rest of your evening, my friend.
Thank you, Anthony. It's always a pleasure, my man. Take care, everyone in Canada. Love you guys.
Alex Bunbury, class act, proud Canadian, former player of Team Canada, $1 million smile, and a proud father of four. What a great guy he is. It's just unbelievable to have him on again. It's a joy. I got to tell you, I spent a lot of time with Alex in the Canadian Soccer League, spent a lot of time following Alex's career in Portugal, and the guy always did it 110%. He never took a minute off. He never gave less than 110%. Honest player. Unbelievable away from the field, helping out. There's so many stories I could share. I mean, I get shaky talking about Alex because he's a special person. I mean, there was a time I'll never forget after a game was done. And, he saw a couple kids there, and, the snack bar was still open. I'll never forget. These kids were waiting in line to get whatever, their popcorn or hot dogs, whatever. Alex, I guess, wanted to get something for himself. Puts over the $10 bill, take care of whatever the two young boys there want. I mean, it's just, that's the way Alex was. That's the way he still is. And you could sense by him giving back the way he's trying to do with others that are unfortunate. That's how he is. I love Alex Bunbury as a player, as a person. Those are the type of guys we need here in this country to help us get to where we need to get, not only on the field, but also off the field. Class act. Love having Alex Bunbury on.